Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Meet the Candidate series. My name is Jimmy Tingle. I am your host of this series. I've been doing it every 2 years for the last 10 years. I always have a lot of fun. I get to meet new people and introduce new people to the voters of Cambridge. So we have a first-time candidate right now, ladies and gentlemen. His name is Robert Eckstut. Robert is a 15-year resident of Cambridge, Massachusetts, who is running to make material changes to positively affect everybody's life. Robert has been an accomplished professional gambler, author, and political consultant, and wants to bring that unique skill set to the city of Cambridge at City Hall. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Jimmy, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to further introduce myself to everyone in Cambridge.
Great.
And beyond.
It's our pleasure, Robert. We love to give a platform, especially to new candidates. So tell me, Robert, why are you running for the Cambridge City Council?
So the primary reason I'm running, and it's short, it's sweet, it's true, is that I love Cambridge. I've been here my entire adult life. I'm 36, so 21 to 36. I've chosen to stay here because I love the city. I love the values that we profess to have: equality, liberty, freedom, all the good stuff. And I see the shortcomings of our current administration, the current council, where there are things that they're doing all right and other things they're doing not so all right. I want to expand on the things that really need improvement. I feel as though there are many voices that are being ignored on city council. Many people like myself, younger generation, renters, people who are not necessarily wealthy, many of whom, in point of fact, are not. And in order to do that, we really need to have a representative voice, not just the same old. So I'm really looking to shake up the status quo. I'm looking for everyone's vote on November 2nd. Please, at the minimum, I hope that everyone participates. I feel like civic engagement is very important. And I feel as though if you don't actually come to the table or have representation, issues and decisions are made without you. So it's very important to have active voice. And so That's why I'm running.
Great. So, Robert, tell me, you said you like some of the things they're doing, but other things need work. Give me some examples of what you think the city council currently is doing well, what they did well during the pandemic, and where they need help.
Okay, so my main mantra of my campaign, it's something that I'm kind of going around as I canvass, almost educating voters in this respect, which is fascinating, is how the mechanics of our government even work. And in Cambridge, we have a council and then a city manager. The city manager is not democratically elected. In fact, he or she, but it's always been a white male, has been hired by the city council. That city manager has more or less full authority to rubber stamp or decline legislation that the city council passes. As we've seen, and this has been in place for more than 60 years, the city manager tends to be very far more conservative than the actual population of Cambridge. So there are many issues. And again, this is something that I'll compliment the council for doing, something that I very much agree with, which is municipal broadband. Mm-hmm. As I've gone around, it's 90% approval to just have municipal broadband. The city manager does not want it, though. It's been a 6-year project. And even though 8 of the 9 city councilors want this, it hasn't happened. Now, that's the example I've used with people when I canvass, because it's very clear cut where everybody wants this. Even the councilors profess to vote for it, but then the city manager is just killing it on their desk. That to me is a problem with the system. And it also makes me wonder if the city councilors know that the city manager doesn't want it, but they're not actually fighting to change the city manager's system. Perhaps they themselves are just casting essentially virtue signals or performative votes where they don't really believe in municipal broadband. Again, it's a policy and it's an idea that 90% of Canterburyans think is the best thing for Cambridge. So I'm running to essentially re-empower the people, to put the power back to the population, where popular policies that everybody here wants, we need to actually put forth and enact. And the only way to do that is moving towards what we have in Somerville, which is simply a mayor-council system. You vote for the mayor, you vote for the council serves the mayor, and you actually push through it, the agenda that needs to be pushed through.
Okay. So as a city council person, you would be looking to reform the city charter, essentially.
Yeah, and in fact, there are 3 amendments that, although I'm running, I very much want everyone's vote. I want to be a city councilor so I can make these changes happen. Mm-hmm. There's also 3 ballot measures that I hope everybody votes yes on. And they essentially are about reforming the charter and helping to fix, although in my opinion, not even nearly enough, the entire process.
Okay. Tell me what your top three concerns, top three issues, the top three burning passions that you have that got you into this race and what you would hope to achieve as a city council person in the fine city of Cambridge, Massachusetts.
So it's kind of interesting because a lot of candidates have lofty goals, and I applaud that. I think many people are more or less unanimous with the idea of more affordable housing, better infrastructure, and so on and so forth. However, most people stop short, which is that none of that can actually happen unless you reform the process. So again, my number one concern is making all the agenda and policies that people want possible. Once that occurs, we can move on to what I believe are better foundational steps towards making Cambridge the best city that we can have, i.e., the best city in America. So my main concerns really are related to infrastructure with transportation, buses, for example, which the city has a lot of authority over. I want to be made free. Busing tends to be a very regressive tax. Those who ride buses are the poorest among us in our city. And it's a small amount of cost that the poor tend to incur. I want to make that free.
Do you think you can do that in the city of Cambridge? I mean, is that a statewide issue? Is that I'm not sure. But I mean, can you just say, all right, in Cambridge, the buses are free?
Yeah, you can. So I've looked into this. The T, for example, because it's so interlocked with Boston, we have no authority on that. That's separate. Right. It's something that I very much want because, again, the T is very important. Busing is handled a little bit differently, yes. However, again, and I hate to stress this again, I know I have limited time, so to repeat myself is perhaps a faux pas, but the current city manager system, it will never happen. But if you actually have a body that can, carry out the will of the people, then yes, you can.
So reform the city council charter. That would be probably right up there. So in your estimation, other things can happen. What else besides transportation? Oh, let me ask you, in terms of the bike car ratio, do you think we can actually have a harmonious city with restaurants, then outdoor dining, which is taking up some space in the street, then bike lanes, then automobiles? Can we have a harmonious situation, or does it have to be an adversarial situation? And can the city council actually step up and play that role of everybody at the table and trying to find the correct balance?
So, Jimmy, this is a fantastic question, and it's something that, in terms of this framing, I appreciate, because I've heard this framing largely with tree conservation relative to housing, but it applies very much to biking and cars, so it's fantastic. The legitimate answer is no, there's no perfect harmony. There's no perfect answer. You can't have more of both. There is somewhat of a trade-off in some situations. I myself am a driver. I'm also a biker. I'm also a walker. I'd be a canoeer too, but not enough waterways here, although I do live on the Charles. So the reality is that I am pushing for more bike lanes. I have taken the Cambridge Bike and Safety Pledge. I feel very strongly that the way of the future is towards less driving. I also, I know it's an acrimonious situation with a lot of small businesses who are pushing for more parking, understandably. And I think the council is beholden to those interests. Whereas when I talk to residents, most people have loved what happened. Over the last 2 years, it's been an odd time, but people have loved the outdoor dining. I would fight very hard to have that stay.
Most of the candidates I've talked to, and I've only just done it today, like the outdoor dining. They feel it's good for the restaurants. The restaurants love it. And most of the people, I think, enjoy it because it's just another dimension. It's one of the few things that have happened since the pandemic that have actually turned out to be a positive. But in terms of the transportation, the parking issue, I mean, soon it's not going to be so much about pollution because there's going to be electric vehicles on the roads. Okay, we have to figure out where does that factor into the whole city?
No, it's actually the small businesses that are pushing against it, by the way. And on the current council,
pushing against what?
As far as like the outdoor dining, because it's taking away from they think their business.
You mean the parking?
Yeah. So because again, if everybody was in agreement, it would happen. Clearly, there's interests that are pushing against it, and it's very prudent to examine what those interests are. Many of the current councilors are very beholden to those interests. So although I've spoken to many residents who love it, it's not going to happen with the current makeup of the council. Mm-hmm. Again, with any issue, it's always fascinating to look at the interest behind like who's pushing for what. And in this case, no, the small businesses, they may claim that, but They very much they believe it's hurting them, even though consumers and people like
Well,
myself.
it doesn't have to be on-street parking. There could be some creative alternatives to have parking in an area that's not necessarily in front of the business. But anyway, we're coming up to the closing statement here. Robert, please tell people in your closing statement what you stand for and how they can learn more about you, and if you'd like to ask them for their support.
Absolutely. I mean, first I want to take this time. Thank you. I could spend an hour speaking about Cambridge issues. I'm very passionate about it. I hope that comes through. When I've spoken with voters, I believe it has. But again, as a first-time candidate, it's always challenging breaking through. My name is Robert Eckstut. I'm seeking your #1 vote for November 2nd. My website is roberteckstut.com. I'm active on Twitter as well, Robert Eckstut, Facebook, Eckstut for Cambridge. I've chosen to live in the city. I love it. I think that there are many aspects that we could be doing better. We're not going to get better unless we change the city council. So I understand it's a risk. Shaking up the city is always a challenge, but it's the rewards are very, very great. And therefore, I'm running, and I'm hoping to be that voice of the unrepresented, the maligned, and frankly, the disempowered. So please vote, and ideally vote for me #1.
Thank you so much, Robert. We appreciate your time tonight. Good luck on the election, and very nice to meet you.
Jimmy, it was a pleasure. Nice to meet you as well. And I'm looking forward to hearing the other interviews with the other candidates as well.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.